So I was a late bloomer in the romance department, and not by choice. Back then I didn't really know how to talk to men, wasn't comfortable in my own skin, didn't know how to respond to pickup lines. My impatience about this really turned into ambivalence by the time I was a sophomore in college at Ohio State. That is until I met Nick. Nick was a senior, and he was tall and blonde and handsome, but he too was shy and awkward in the romance department. His failed attempts to talk to women were sort of well known amongst our friends. And we met because he would come to horror movie nights at my dorm and our game nights too. It's where I was an RA, the type of RA who nobody likes because I enforce the rules too much. And that's how we spent our Friday nights. So I had met my match as far as I was concerned. We got to know each other, and after he graduated, we had a summer romance. Well, it was a G-rated summer romance, at best. There were attempts at flirtation and dates. There was the time when he announced loudly in front of our friends about the fact that he was going to their house party that night. Nick, I'm totally going to that house party too. What a coincidence. I hadn't actually ever been to a house party, much less an Ohio State house party, so it was eye-opening. Our friends showed me their favorite game, Edward 40 Hands, and it seemed like the goal of the game was to just intentionally urinate yourself. So I walked away confused about that, but for Nick and I, that party was not enough to lower our inhibitions to the point of acting normal around each other. Then there was a time when he actually called and he said, Meredith, we keep talking about my favorite movie, Dr. Strangelove. I don't know, maybe you should come over tonight and watch it. Which I totally played cool. I mean, I'm pretty busy. I'm pretty busy, Nick. But it looks like I have some free time tonight. I think I can fit in a movie. I think I can fit in a short movie. Watch a movie? This was my big opportunity. But I made the mistake of telling our mutual oblivious friend who showed up right as things were about to get interesting. And to this day, I remind her of the time she cock-blocked me and ruined my plan for seduction that might have worked, because that opportunity didn't come again for a while. Now, Nick had joined the Peace Corps after he graduated, but it was he wasn't going to leave for a year. It was no big deal. He kept telling us he had some cushy IT job in the Caribbean. So I didn't really think anything of it. Time is more meaningless back then, until the Peace Corps called and said, "You've actually been reassigned to Ethiopia and you're leaving in a few weeks. Surprise." So he left at the end of the summer, and I was really bummed out until I got that first letter. "Dear Meredith, I never really fully expressed how I felt to you, and I really regret that. I only wish we had more time together." And for someone who hasn't experienced romantic interaction, this is a very big deal. So I took my response to that and response to every letter that followed very seriously. I would meticulously type it up on Microsoft Word, and then sit down and casually write it out as if the words just came to my mind. Just thought of that, just spontaneous. We wrote letters for 2 years, and the content differed. You'd say, "Dear Meredith, I'm working on building that library, and in my free time I also help with that charity, and I teach children how to use computers. The charity helps orphans and street children, and the kids really light up my life during this lonely, isolating time in Ethiopia. Dear Nick, the kids sound great. It's midterm time at Ohio State. My favorite dining hall closed, but at least we have football. Go Bucks! Still going strong." We had started talking about music, because what better way to make yourself sound cool than talking about music? And it just so happened that I had been assigned a Janis Joplin biography for a history class I was in. And I read about a third of it, and then I was I bet I would look super cool and hip and interesting if I just sent this to Nick. So I just went ahead and did that instead of reading it. And I was pretty excited. I thought this was a really thoughtful thing. So I was very excited to get the response. But it took a little bit longer this time than it had before. And I kept checking the mailbox. And finally a letter came, and I opened it up. "Dear Meredith, thank you for the book. I look forward to reading it. By the way, I have some news. I met someone. You're in a village of 12 people, so that seems statistically unlikely." Okay. Kept going. "I met a volunteer a couple of villages over, and she's perfect and amazing, and I never thought this would happen, but I finally met my match. I'm your match, remember?" And then the grand conclusion, "Meredith, I know you'll meet someone special too someday." Okay. I felt like I'd been dumped for another woman over snail mail. And this was close to the end of his time at the Peace Corps. So a couple months later, he returned to the U.S. and we had all of his friends had a big welcome home party for him. But he was messaging the new girlfriend the whole time. And I got really angry that he was ignoring us. And then I got really, really angry about the fact that he had this girlfriend. And the envy kept building and building about all these firsts and new feelings and fun experiences he was having with this other woman that I thought he was going to have with me. And I just couldn't take it anymore. And I said, the first thing that came to my mind, Nick, where's my Janis Joplin book? Oh yeah, I gave it to the kids I was working with in Ethiopia. Oh, did you? Well, Nick, it wasn't a gift. Wasn't even done reading it yet. You know, it's pretty inconsiderate to just abandon a book like that. Just leave it there with children and a girlfriend I don't even know, with strangers, just to move on like it's nothing. Like, that book was special to me, Nick, and you need to fix this. You need to go back and take care of this. I did receive another letter from Nick. 5 years later, we were all coincidentally living in D.C. It was an invitation to his wedding. Guess that worked out. I got in touch to give a half-hearted congratulations, and he ended up offering me a ride home for the upcoming holiday, a ride home to Ohio. The fiancé couldn't come, so it's just going to be the two of us. That day arrives, he shows up, I get in the car, and before we can make eye contact or say a word, he hands me a brand new copy of the Janis Joplin book. And I'm mortified. I'm like, he's been thinking about this for 5 years? He remembers this horrible thing I said out of envy. I can't even believe it. I am speechless, but I try to muster the words you shouldn't have. No, it's fine. No, don't worry about it, Meredith. No big deal. Happy to do it. No big deal. And we never spoke of it again. In fact, after his wedding, we didn't talk again at all. Now, 2 days before this show, my mom found all these letters in a closet in Ohio, and I was able to read through them all, and I noticed a line at the end of the original love confession letter that said, I tell you all this, Meredith, because I want you to know that you have a friend on the other side of the world. I had been harboring this envy over a first-time relationship that didn't really exist, that it blinded me to this very unique and rare friendship I had over handwritten letters. I still have the book. It's still on my bookshelf. I still haven't finished reading it. If you want to borrow it, please let me know. It's available. But every time I see it, I'm reminded of the fact that I had a friend who, despite the sheer ridiculousness of my request, returned my book 5 years later.